Everybody, and welcome to the Amazon EU Masters. My name is Hipbrain and I am joined by Trouble. Trouble, hello, how you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you doing, Hipbrain?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very, very good. And we're on the final day of week 1 of the group stages here at the Amazon EU Masters. Everybody has played and we'll be moving into that second week and that all-important run towards the playoffs after this. But there's a lot on the line for a whole bunch of our teams. It's been a very tight. I think there's been a few upsets. There's been a few close calls. There's been some really, really solid matches so far. We've got 6 games coming up for you today. Trouble, it's been exciting. I think I'm gonna start with the obvious elephant in the room. NLC are actually first in the group at the moment. I'm taking that as a W. I am taking that as a big old W.
All right, before you get to this W, we need to get to the W from Schalke, because obviously it was an unfortunate situation. What happened with the jungler? Jaeger has to fill in the shoes, sub-top player up top, and you think, oh my god, their group stage dream is actually dead, but it's not. They managed to pick up a really clutch victory over Matchko and grab that #1 for their wins in their groups. Meanwhile, something that wasn't necessarily too much of an upset was Vitality B's victory versus Zero Tenacity. One very early game invade from Ryuzaki ended up being instantly punished from Vitality B, and from there on out they just literally snowballed all the way to victory. Now, a game that I thought was going to be more one-sided towards a go rogue was not the case, and officers, I feel like, stood their ground really well. But the Swain, together with the Renekton and the Trundle, combined with the Yuumi, there was way too much scaling, there was way too much space control from the side of a go rogue, and they ended up closing the series. I'll let you take this one, Hipbrain.
Yeah, well, this is Dusty taking on Game Ward. I didn't want to say Game. I knew it was Game Ward. Taking on Game Ward. You know, Dusty are the first seed out of the NLC, unable to pull this game together. Unfortunately, Game Ward, the first seed from the LFL, have been very, very crisp in their play, and it was just a little bit too much for the side of Dusty. But on the other side, LDLC, favorites in their group as well. They went toe-to-toe with X7, and X7, they came up on top. They played really, really well. And, you know, for a team that struggled during their playoffs, losing in a reverse sweep to Dusty, of all teams as well, they came in and they are now 2-0 in the European Masters. We spoke to Kasing in the NLC finals as well, and he made a promise that he was going to win EU Masters this time around, and he is one step closer, beating LDLC.
Yeah, absolutely. 2-0 in their group right now. X7 are doing great. Another team that's doing really, really well, and the expectations were very high. Of course, if you take into consideration the last run over the spring, was Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition, with 2 new additions in the team for them as well. They had an absolute blast. I feel like Scarface onto that Renekton, he never let go of that advantage that he created towards the top side of the map. I think he's one of the best top players that we have in the league right now. But when it comes to like EU Masters this summer, I feel like I was looking at all the groups and I'm like, okay, let's make out the group of death, right? Which one is the group of death? Which one has the most stacked names in their group? And I feel like every single group is just looking too good, because minor regions have come in looking for blood. The major regions, every single seed that they've sent in is actually extremely freaking strong. And I feel like every group has their chance for upsets. And honestly, when we do get a look at the groups as well, you'll see that at this point, it's no longer LFL dominance all across the board. As you'll see here, Group A, it's Primarily, Group B, it's NLC, Group C, it's Superliga, Group D is LFL. And we love to see this, because now you know that there are a bunch of rivals that will be able to not only take down the LFL, but actually rival for that spot.
The question for me is going into next week, are we going to have, you know, the tops of all of the groups being undefeated? Are X7 going to be 3-0? Are Unicorns of Love going to be 3-0? Are Heretics going to be 3-0? Or BDS as well? These groups are very, very fun. I think there's a lot of tight stuff to look at. I think Group B, incredibly exciting. The fact LDLC have dropped a game. I think Group D also, you know, Game Ward, they've just been playing out of their mind good. Group A, I really feel like Unicorns of Love, if another team is going to go 3-0, it is going to be UOL, who are going to be the team to do that. But I think Group C is going to be interesting because obviously this Heretics versus BDS game will be today. And, you know, one of these teams is losing a game and one of these teams will be going into week 2 undefeated. Heretics coming out from the Super League over in Spain have been looking very, very strong. A team that kind of came out of nowhere onto the scene, just exploded and looked really, really good. But I think we should actually bring up the schedule for today so we can see what 6 games we've got coming up here at the Amazon EU Masters. We'll be starting with Valiance taking on SK Gaming Prime, then Anorthosis Famagusta versus LDLC, Zero to Nasty versus Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition, Vitality B versus Giants, X7 versus a Go Rogue, and Heretics versus BDS Academy. Trouble, what games have got your eye right now?
All I'm going to say is whoever the second caster pair is that's going to take the latter 3 games, it's absolutely stacked. It's all of the teams that are looking to go 3-0 versus all of their rivals. We have the Heretics versus BDS, where both of these teams are 2-0 in their groups. Only one of them will be able to be undefeated on the first round robin. And obviously, for every single team, today is the most important day of them all because it's the first round robin ending today. So if you don't have a victory, you need to put that number 1 on your wins real quickly, or your chances going 0-3 into the second week are going to get a bit difficult.
Yeah, I think the tail end of the day is going to be good. But, you know, we've got some good stuff coming up. Obviously, starting with our first game of the day. Yes, they're at the bottom of their team, but Valiance versus SK Prime, 0-2 right now. One of these teams is going to get their first win on the board. And considering that Group C's front runners are also playing versus each other, there's a good chance for one of these teams. Well, sorry, there's not a good chance. There's a guaranteed chance that the winner of this game is only going to be 1 point behind one of the top 2 teams. So that potential to climb into that top 2 and actually make it to playoffs is there for these teams. So that's what I'm really excited about, to see how these two kind of go toe to toe. And I think maybe we should shift gear and talk a little bit about our first game then. So Valiance from the side of, sorry, Valiance, not Valiance. Valiance from the side of the EBL, the Balkan region, taking on SK Prime from the Dark League. And, you know, SK Prime kind of letting the Dark down a little bit here. 0-2 overall in the standings. You look over and you got UOL smashing it over in their group. And then you got SK Prime just kind of trailing along in their group. So a win here is going to get them some really good kind of like confidence boosts and just that like energy knowing you're catching up to the other teams in your region.
I think it's so important because SK Prime and Valiance are in the same group with BDS and Heretics. Heretics are a team that are coming into the entire competition as favorites to win it all among other teams as well, right? BDS, the same thing. And then when SK Prime gets slotted in as a 3rd seed from the Prime League, I just want to remind everyone that the 3rd seed of the Prime League was the only seed from the DACH region to move on to quarterfinals in spring, and that was Unicorns of Love. So SK Prime need to make the due diligence and try to do the same thing. It is a very difficult group to do this in, but right now they're playing Valiance. Technically, Valiance coming from the EBL, technically and on the books, SK Prime should be able to take that victory. But if they can't, Valiance, as you mentioned, they're only 1 victory away. And if we know anything, we know that Dark Horses are really good at upsetting a lot of the big games that are coming forward. So being only 1 win behind these giants that you have into your group, it makes it a little bit easier to create an upset.
And you know, there's a little bit of pride for me here in the Valiance roster. There's 4 players that have played over in the NLC domestic regions at some point. ArcaneTeddy actually played, I think it was just a split over in NLC Div 2. Diva has also played over in NLC Div 2. I think off the top of my head, also did play a little bit in the UKLC, which used to be our Div 2. just towards the UK side of it, back when the NLC had multiple different Div 2s. But there are 4 players on this roster who all have some experience in our region. So I'm pretty, you know, I got a little bit of a home pride towards these guys. We're seeing the picks and bans going down. The Lucian and the Draven. So Gadget getting quite heavily target banned to start us off here. SK Prime looking a little bit more broad, taking away that Trundle, taking away that Seraphine, as the Renekton is going to be the final ban here from the side of Valiance.
And Renekton is like a really big pick that suddenly has found a resurgence, I'd like to say, on the Rift. The fact that he can take control of the tops of the map is just making the champion really difficult to deal with. Even when we see Sejuani into it, that technically should be a pretty easy matchup, especially after that level 6. It just doesn't pan out to be that that way. And let's see what's going to be actually B1 here, because there's a bunch of like S-tier picks left out. One that crosses my mind instantly is that Sejuani, that we've seen a lot of the teams be wanting. Things like Ornn are getting B1 as well. Other than that, you have the Zeris and the early AD carries being locked in as well. But all 3 of them kind of banned out in this place. Lucian, Draven, and Kalista out. So I'm expecting to see Gadget maybe resort towards something like the Sivir, towards something like the Aphelios. Ooh, Phantomles with the Ahri.
It's going to lock that in. I was expecting maybe something like a Corki. You know, we had so much of the Corki is there. It's kind of a go-to.
No, Brain, please.
I'm with you. I'd rather not see that, but it is a typical pickup into this champion. We'll see what else they've got in the tank, because the Zeri, like you said, is open. The Sivir is open. Gonna lock in that Zeri here, and I feel like if Valiance just pick up like the likes of a Sivir, they can just put the brakes on this game and wait till late game. Like that is instantly, all right, we just play scaling. Don't pick something that's going to lose top. Play something like a GP that can just play weak side. Pick a Sivir and just clear waves.
Something that just came into my mind when you started talking about scaling is that Yuumi's open in this game, and you've got a Zeri and an Ahri on one side. You've got a Wukong and an Azir on the other. Yuumi does tend to pair up really well with both all 4 of the champions that we've seen so far. Obviously, when you do have it Zeri, you do want the likes of a Lulu or a Yuumi behind her, shielding, healing, speeding up, and this champion can take over the game. But of course, it's going to get instantly snatched away by Valiance here, and we will most likely see maybe a Lulu takeaway here from SK Prime, because this is the other primary enchanter that you usually see next to Zeri. And if you don't lock it in here, it's most likely going to get banned.
Well, we're moving into ban phase 2. We'll see what is going to get taken away now. Obviously, AD carries is where I'm expecting to see the bans. You could go for that Sivir. Jamada was quite outspoken about the Sivir versus Zeri matchup. He just said Sivir, you know, is such a good champion. It's almost reliable as well, you know. You still can kind of CC the Zeri and kind of lock it down. I know they don't have like the hard CC and like a point and click like we saw on the Vi over in day 1 of E-Masters, but, you know, Sivir can just play back and clear waves. Zeri needs to get into the mix of things, so they don't want to deal with that. The Vi is actually going to get banned away from the side of Valiance here. Is actually they decide they don't want to be dealing with that kind of jumping into whatever AD carry they're going to be looking to pick up here. See what SK Prime are going to pick up as their final ban. Again, I'm expecting towards AD carries. I'm just trying to rack my brains of what AD carries they could go towards. We've seen a lot of the Aphelioses as well also start to show up, especially when you do play this more scaling orientated playstyle. They actually just go for the Ornn. They don't want that kind of long engaged tank that can kind of also just absorb waves and pressure on the top side.
So the Vi ban is really interesting as well, because it pairs up really nicely with the Ahri and something that can dive into the backline and actually follow up. So I'm wondering here what SK Prime are going to choose to take into the jungle. Of course, Eckas really favors his Kiana, but I don't know if this particular game would be one where he would like to play Kiana. Absolutely not. The Poppy makes a lot of sense. A lot of dashes on the Wukong, a lot of dashes onto the Azir. Once the Yuumi dismounts as well, it's really difficult when Poppy has the W up to get back on top. If that Fiora, which will get locked in right here, gets locked in, again, a lot of dashes on the champion as well. So Poppy seeing a bunch of value versus these 4 champions that Valiance have actually showed. And right here, something that Alois has showed in EU Master so far is Camille, and Camille is winning until that level 6, but then Fiora kind of takes over the lane, unless he chooses to go towards a different champion, and we're gonna see the Misfortune together with the Yuumi here as well. A pretty old combo. I think we saw it last year, if I'm not wrong, the Yuumi Misfortune combo, but still very potent.
Well, just so you know, ArcaneTeddy, the Fiora is actually a bit of a signature pick for him. Some of it he did used to pick up quite a lot domestically, at least when I was covering him. This was a champion, but he did have in his wheelhouse. And SK now just thinking about what they want to actually pair up into that Fiora. It's not something you see all the time. Most top laners, not most top laners, but quite a lot of top laners do have this as like a pick they like to pull out. Not all of them are great at it, but you know, a lot of top laners are very versed in playing versus that Fiora. And it feels like Alois is actually just leaning towards potentially just being that person to absorb the pressure in the top lane. I'm not sure if that Malphite was locked in because we kind of jumped out picks and bans immediately. So to me, that screams there's been a little bit of an issue. I'll look for an update on that one, but we'll find out whether or not that Malphite was the final pick up there. If it is, we'll just theory craft here. What are you feeling about that? Because typically you do see Malphite picked up into these AD top laners, but there is that element of, you know, you do have the true damage from the weak spots as we are into the game, so it is a Malphite.
It is locked in, and I'm getting a little bit worried right here because I understand what SK Prime want to do. They want to do the front to back. They've got the Ahri in there, they've got Poppy, Malphite making the picks, and then you've got Zeri with a Lulu that can completely take over the game in the late game, right? And on the other hand, for Valiance, there is 3 champions that have AD damage profiles: the Misfortune, the Wukong, and the Fiora. So technically, a Malphite should not have a problem building towards Thornmail, Frozen Heart, anything AD related, Randuins, anything he wants to AD related, he can actually build. And then maybe you chuck an Anathema's change onto the Azir and call it a day. The only problem right here is, from what I'm seeing, that if ArcaneTeddy, who isn't his champion, actually manages to snowball the side lane, there is not much reply from the side of SK Prime, because even if you put Phantomles onto the Ahri on a side lane, Fiora is just gonna eat her alive.
Well, seeing a little bit of early spotting on where everybody is, but for the most part, it is just an even spread. Both junglers are starting up on their red side, so we'll be clearing away from one another. That can either lead towards these invades or potentially where the attention could go. King may look just to try and set ArcaneTeddy up on the top side ASAP. Alois, if he goes down early in this Fiora matchup, his life will be a little bit more annoying on that front as King. Yeah, he is clearing up, so he's not gone for his Krug, so he's going to just move completely up, and we might see an early gank onto that Malphite.
I mean, it would make sense, right? The Poppy doesn't necessarily want to play towards the side of the Malphite, but also you do not really have any setup in any lane. I feel like SK Prime literally just want to chill here. I feel the job of Eckas is to actually cover for any lane that is going to be under pressure from the Wukong, and the pressure actually falls onto King to make these plays early on, to try and get a Fiora ahead, to try and get that Misfortune ahead to be a problem and a nuisance later on, if you will, because that bullet time is going to be a zoning all together with the final chapter from the Yuumi. They're going to be creating so much space for Azir to play the team fights, for Fiora to play the team fights, and Wukong as well. And let's not forget, the more time that you do earn from the side of Valiance, they also have that side lane pressure with the Fiora. This is why it's so important for King to try and find possibly a cheeky dive or any type of gank toward the top side onto the Malphite. I'm not sure what the wave looks like towards the top side of the map right now, as ArcaneTeddy is shoving in another wave from what we see. So if you wanted to dive, that would be a pretty nice wave to do it on, because you have about 6 ranged creeps, you have 1 melee creep, and you also have a cannon right there. And at that point, Alois was also level 2 with not a lot of mana on him. But King actually chose to go for the full clear towards the top side of the map and maybe look for a cheeky invade, put a wall down usually at the chickens where Azir is right now. He's cosplaying the camp, and make sure that the next time that this bull spawns, you're there to either steal it away or create some situation.
We actually saw as soon as as soon as they got any pressure in the lane, both ArcaneTeddy and Diva moved into this red side just to get a bit of vision for King to use to move in and basically get some idea of where the camps are. He isn't going to be able to take away these Krugs. His Krugs are up as well, so denying that from Eckas is gonna, is gonna hurt a little bit for Eckas as King. They know he's there. They have seen him on the camp ranks of that ward that is just timed out above him. But Eckas will get his chicken camp at least, and Phantomles teleporting back into the mid lane. Just going to go back on a little bit of a spending spree, buy boots and a Sapphire Crystal for a little bit more mana to work with as Diva had previously shoved in the wave, and then the wave had now crashed back in towards him. But with Eckas now moving into the jungle, King maybe not to take a camp away, but he is going to lose a camp in return. So it'll be an equal trade on that side of it as ArcaneTeddy getting kind of slammed in that trade, actually.
Yeah, the thing is here, Diva tried to create a freeze. He tried to keep the wave very close to his tower, and he hasn't gone back. But on the other side, you said if Phantomles does have the boots, he has the crystal in, so he would be able to move in first, as he also has the movement speed from that. This is why Eckas actually chose to play that invade, because he knows that this Azir doesn't have a lot of mana. He hasn't necessarily backed yet, so he's not as dangerous if a fight breaks out between the four of them. So really nice move right there from Eckas. Gets his golems stolen away, takes away the chickens. He probably left like one there for the respawn timer, but right now, King is taking his first golems spawn. So it's not going to be of much value for him as well, but he has the entire top side quadrant of his jungle, and honestly, this game is moving really slow until these teams hit level 6. When you're level 6, you've got the bullet time, you've got the Yuumi ult, you've got the Wukong ult, you've got so many zoning tools that you can start picking fights around, for example, the Rift Herald, whilst on the other side, SK Prime probably want to be trading something like the Rift Herald for dragons and try to get that win con for themselves for later on fights, where they've actually scaled, where they've got their front to back for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing Diva was thinking about going for a reset, but actually cancelled it and didn't actually decide to go for that full reset. Is now going to reset. I'm curious to see how close he is towards that lost chapter. May have just held it off a little bit more to get some more components. There it is. Finishes up the lost chapter and actually buys himself 2 pots. So got that teleport to get back into lane. Has that level 6 mark you were talking about as well as King. Actually kind of reveals himself by scrying onto that ward in the pixel brush. So not going to be getting himself a pick onto Eckas. Eckas has actually been able to get himself that crab as well. Early dragon is going to be that ocean dragon. I know there's been a bit of a debate about this. I said debate. Most people I've spoken to seem to think in the current state, ocean drake is the worst drake to get. So you can kind of see why the teams aren't so interested in picking up that early dragon for themselves, and not looking to try and snowball the dragon score for themselves either. I think both mid and bot have been very yo-yo-y on who's had pressure when and where, so it's been quite hard for teams to turn their attention towards that dragon yet. But now that mid has this lost chapter, Diva has pretty decent mana, so you should be able to shove the wave in fairly deep.
Yeah, and talking about these dragons, the ocean dragon, because it's so strong when it comes to the soul, the individual dragon was not buffed as much. This is why you don't necessarily see teams going for it. But I'd say when you have the team that does really want to team fight later on in the game, as Paladin here.
Oh! Gadget just takes it like he just got assassinated. He healed, he used everything, and he goes down.
That was a little bit of a whoopsie for Paladin, because he was extremely overextended, especially when that wave was being shoved in by SK Prime. We saw that CHECKFIDER was actually off. He was trying to walk around with King, ward down, take down Vision together with Wukong, and Paladin overextends and gets easily punished. So really good stuff right there from SK Prime to actually punish that, not losing any single summoner. And Paladin, because he didn't have his flash up and available, his flash is actually going to come up in 10 seconds. He overextends, instantly goes down. But yeah, talking about these dragons, usually the team that wants to scale for the late game and wants to team fight, such as SK Prime here, you will pay a little bit more attention to the dragon, because you want to create that win condition for yourself. You want to be able to get the fights whenever you want to. There's a lot of teams that get forced onto that soul fight when they don't have the right items, when they don't have the right levels, when they've fallen behind, and then you get forced into a disadvantageous fight. Now, by making sure that you grab one dragon, you have basically created 5 more minutes for yourself if you want to scale further, if you want to hit this item power spikes. And as you'll see on the other hand side, Valiance, because they want to snowball that Fiora, they want to get these star platings down, which so far it's been a pretty easy-going matchup towards the top side of the map, I would say. ArcaneTeddy will take really good use of that Rift Herald towards the top side of the map.
I guess there's a element of at least it's bit the Ocean Soul now, Ocean Drake now. You don't want it as your soul. It's just one that most teams are just hard avoiding at the moment. So in a way, you're kind of okay with this, because now you're going to get either the Hex Tech or the Mountain Soul. Infernal was the next dragon up. There is also a Cloud as well. And on a team, you know, like you're saying, either want a team fight or, you know, scale out the game. with the new changes to Cloud and how much just base movement speed you get from each dragon, you're gonna be quite happy with that just to get yourself a bit of space. Sure, the side of Valiance, you know, they're not really gonna be using the ult side, the ult side of the Cloud Soul very well if that does come up. But you know, SK Prime, they're laughing if they get a Cloud Soul in this game. There are a lot of champions that are going to want to be able to put their ults and speed around. So they're going to be very happy with that one.
I've been hearing a lot of Cloud Soul nonsense over the past few days, but I don't think anything compares to a Hextech Soul, for example, especially when you want to create spacing. Something like the Mountain Soul as well, which gives you so much survivability and so many more resistances as well, is so... underrated at this point, I'd like to say, especially from Mr. Jamada, who is a big advocate, if you will, for the Cloud Soul, and obviously it's really good, especially when you want to
I've come over to his Bible.
Yeah, it's really good, especially when you want to be moving really quickly around the map, and you want to be making these transitions, so it does really help that movement so that you get extra from it, but especially if you want to play the front to back, especially when you want to create spacing with the likes of a Zeri, a Hextech Soul is of huge importance. Paladin
is going to get himself taken up, bopped up, flashed away to safety, gets a slowdown, he's almost down, and he is dead. King trying to do something to salvage this situation, but Gadget getting his second kill now. Looking very dominant on this. Zeri got the Immortal Shield Bow in the inventory as well here for SK Prime, and the AD carry starting to pop off. We talked a lot about scaling, we talked about the current state of the meta and how, you know, a lot of teams, they do just want to sit back and get in enough items on their AD carry that they can kind of take over team fights. Zeri is one of these picks that has just been getting constantly picked up all season long, especially since the durability patch changes. It's really shown up as a champion to kind of pick up. And Gadget setting himself up for success early here.
Yeah, absolutely. Already having the shield ball right there. Now he's going back. He's going to cash in on boots, gets the control ward as well. Minute and a half, another dragon's coming up. So we talked about how the two side lanes for Valiance need to snowball early on. You know, this Miss Fortune is going to be building towards that lethality. You definitely want to be getting her ahead, especially when you do have the blue side right here. So if you do play for these dragons, SK Prime are going to have to walk through choke points. The final chapter, together with the bullet time, is going to be a very important weapon in your hands to actually stop SK Prime from getting to this choke point, or chuck them down immediately and then follow up like the likes of Azir, a Wukong, or a Fiora to finish them off. But the fact that this Misfortune has fallen about 1,500 gold behind is actually extremely problematic right now, considering that the other side lane isn't necessarily snowballing either. Your Fiora, which you could have pulled out a lot of dives for, given the Rift Herald too, which the Rift Herald, by the way, is just about to expire in King's pocket. Spangle was top of the map, potentially going to drop it down really close to the star platings expiring as well, a minute and a half. And as you can see, Eckas is hovering around Alois. King is looking for his opportunity. I think it's here or not, or you don't pop it at all because it's just about to expire. There you go.
Oh, he's found it. He's able to place it down. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Paladin going low, able to hold fast for just a little bit longer. But he is going to definitely lose a plate here on the bottom side. And this could easily be SK finding first blood onto the tower.
Hold on.
Paladin losing a fight to the support. Seal 1 versus 2 is going to be able to get the damage down. Gadget is going to find himself almost enough damage, but the shield comes in from the Yuumi. The teleport's here, and ArcaneTeddy's going to flash into Seal's face, looking to try and finish him up as Gadget gets himself slowed. The shield bow has been popped, and now Gadget slowed down, and he will be run down by Teddy. Teddy can dash over the wall, and Viking comes in. Monkey bot for the shutdown. There's a quick 450 gold in his pocket, and the Herald charge was stopped topside.
Yeah, and that was a very aggressive play again from Gadget and Seal. ArcaneTeddy's gonna pull the teleport, trying to defend that bot lane, but very crucially, ArcaneTeddy gets nothing for it. Seal gets out, and it's actually King who cashes in on that. Diva is gonna get out, as the jungler is very busy taking the second dragon off the game, if you will, but Eckas is around.
Yeah, there's no shuffle. This is actually very scary. The smite comes down, and Eckas is sent packing. Trouble, we're getting the Cloud Soul. Let's go.
Right, okay. When it comes to these two teams, I don't know how insanely good Cloud Soul
I think the SK is really good.
I'm seeing two teams.
I mean, like Zeri, Ahri, use it very well. Malphite can as well, I guess.
I'm seeing two teams that want a team fight right here. I'm seeing an Ahri that has a bunch of dashes in her kit, doesn't necessarily need that movement speed. If anything, I'd say movement speed is really important for ArcaneTeddy here on the sort of Valiance. Having that movement speed also the Fiora, being able to shove in a lane and then fall back or be on the side lane and then suddenly transition all the way to the other side. As talking about ArcaneTeddy, he's going to be finding himself against two.
I'm hearing just a lot of blasphemy right now, Trouble. That's all I'm hearing. You know, Jamada, he has converted me to the Church of Cloud Soul, and I'm hearing you, you know, smack talking the one true God, Cloud Soul.
Okay, so I got told that Jamada got banned from the chat or timed out because
Jamada got timed out
because he heard I was talking about Cloud Soul, you know. I'll say it again. I'm not gonna, I need to be persuaded. I need to see how valuable this Cloud Soul will be as a 4-man unit from the sort of SK Prime, and Paladin is targeted again.
Oh, Paladin, he can't catch a break. Him and his kitty cat will be going down. CHECKFIDER ignited, and he will be taken out. 2 quick kills over to the side of SK Prime. And they've got the wins in their sail right now.
It's looking really good. 4,500 gold in the lead, 15 minutes in. Make this 5,000 gold in the lead. All main items have been completed. They're almost close to their second one as well. And right here, again, Paladin with an absolutely dark quadrant on the top side. Overextends, unfortunately. And this is a little bit of a problem when you're playing with some sort of a Yuumi, right? Because the AD carry's positioning is so pivotal on how the lane is going to go, because you do not have 2 bodies in this lane. You only have 1 body. So it really matters how Paladin positions, if he overextends, how he plays around the minion wave. And so far, Gadget and Seal have run over the Valiance bot lane. They're going to take the second Rift Herald and try to open the mid lane, which is such an important tower as well, because it will create so much darkness in both quadrants of King's jungle, and SK Prime could be looking for kicks.
Oh, they got the second charge out as well. Alois does have the unstoppable force up and available to him if anybody does overstep, but I think to the side of Valiance, they are playing respectfully towards that, but there is a big rock man about, and able to get that second charge off, not only to take the mid lane tier 1 down, but get a big chunk out of that tier 2 in mid. Will open the map up for them once this Streamer Tower does go down, and now the grand challenge has been thrown down. Alois being caught out, the final chapter's being used, and ArcaneTeddy will be able to stick to him like glue. He will be going down momentarily. He's taken out by ArcaneTeddy. Now they have to get the 2v1 going. ArcaneTeddy does still have a kitty cat on him. Eckas gets himself a wallbang off though, and ArcaneTeddy able to just get the heal off in time from CHECKFIDER to keep him alive, as Gadget is getting a whole bunch of additional damage off. SK Prime are mopping up this fight as Gadget coming in with a triple kill on the Zeri, skates his way to glory, and it is 2-7. SK are looking super clean.
Oh, that
in
was
this
very
game.
unfortunate from the Valiance, because Diva's teleport just came back up online. So had that Azir been able to contribute into this fight, they could have potentially been different, because between Phantomles and Eckas, there was a little bit of a miscoordination, I'd like to say. Eckas going in, Phantomles dashing back out. But if we look at this again, it's Alois versus 3. Dashes away with the old man and flashes, but they do catch him. But at this point, the Fiora is not that fed. Alois has been able to get a couple of items, and very crucially, the taunt doesn't hit, the charm from the Ahri. But look at Eckas. He knows he's gonna get the stun down on ArcaneTeddy, but Phantomles actually dashes away. Luckily for SK Prime, there's 2 more members walking down the river. It is Seal and is Gadget on that overfed Zeri, able to clean up the fight. But we were talking about how important it is for both these teams, both Valiance and SK Prime, to pick up the first victory, as they're both 2 teams that are sitting 0-2, bottom of Group C. And honestly, for SK Prime, if you want to pick up a victory, it needs to be extremely dominant. And even though it has been dominant when it comes to numbers, when it comes to coordination, it hasn't necessarily been the best so far. So again, for the team to rebound back, to be able to go against the likes of Heretics, the likes of BDS in their group, picking up that victory is just the first step. Second is cleaning up the plan.
Absolutely, and this dragon going down to SK as well. They're one step closer towards that soul. Baron coming up in 30 seconds time as well. They've got a fed enough Zeri, but if they're given the opportunity, I really could see this Baron just going down very, very quickly. When you got the Lulu buffing up a 5-1 Zeri who's 2.5 items in, this Baron would melt to them. So there is a world where they could shift all their vision over, wait for a good pick, and then potentially take that as a good opportunity just to burst out this Baron and then basically put, I wouldn't say the final stamp in the game, but enough to be able to take out a lot of these outer towers and look to set themselves to actually get into position to close this game out. And scaling just won't be there. This Azir needs more time before he's really in that position where he's just going to be able to endlessly clear waves and be a real nuisance. As SK with this Zeri just going to be able to pop people immediately.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think at this point, you're not necessarily even playing for the Baron. You're playing to force Valiance to face CHECKFIDER. And here's the TP behind Valiance from Alois. A double TP actually coming in from Phantomles too.
Yeah, everyone's coming in. Phantomles has to dodge away on that final chapter. It's going to get rooted, but not before landing a charm. Has 2 more dashes available to him as Eckas flashes over the wall, lands the chilling smite, gets the knock-up, and now the monkey's on his own. His kitty cat will leave him alone as Phantomles will look for the charm, will find it onto ArcaneTeddy. King goes down in 2 quick picks. SK probably just going to turn their attention towards the Baron as the Azir, Diva, able to take out this tower here in the mid lane, so he gets something for his team.
Was that 1,000 gold? I saw the Azir cashing in from this bounty. Was something along these lines, but SK Prime are literally chasing him down. And even though Azir is extremely slippery, does have the flash, does have the ultimate, Diva might make a great escape.
Yeah, he does get the shuffle off, but he's on the wrong side of history. Gadget will take him down for yet another kill. Staggered resets as well. 42 seconds till Diva's up, while the rest of his team have only just respawned. This Baron going to be very hard to contest. They have to know it's going on, though, as the whole team going to be on this Baron looking to clear this out. But it does look like it's going to be a bit of a slow react coming in from the side of Valiance, and with Baron already under half HP, it's going to be scary. Paladin, maybe a good ultimate could do something here. He pops it down, gets the ult off, and the Baron's going low, but the Baron's not going to be stopped yet. They find a quick knock-up on Seal, taken down by ArcaneTeddy. Baron has been secured, though, for SK, with ArcaneTeddy trying his damnedest with the cat in his pocket to keep himself going, but it's not going to be enough. CHECKFIDER is going to be taken out as well. Gadget gets his 8th kill of the game, and SK, they just put their foot down on the gas, and they are looking to take over this game in style.
8,000 gold in the lead right now for the 3rd seed of the DACH region. Really good stuff. And again, SK Prime doesn't necessarily look for the Baron here. They're just trying to pick up 5 pick members off. And you see how that bullet time was also very instrumental for possibly a Valiance victory here. But again, we talked about this. Misfortune very far behind SK Prime. They split the entire map apart from the Valiance. They pick off the jungle first. Then comes the jungler. Then comes the support. They had picked the mid laner earlier on to start the Baron with that one. And you mentioned it, Keeper, it's so important to have the Baron to be able to seeds, because bullet time is a really strong tool to try and wave clear. Misfortune does a lot of damage to the wave as well as Azir. But having these Baron up minions, you make it a little bit more difficult. And actually, SK Prime actually looks at this Baron to try and find a pick, maybe with an Ahri, maybe with a Malphite.
Oh, SK, they're going to push forward here. Let's try and crack open the base. Eckas flashes forward. Diva, a very fast flash in response, will be able to get himself out, but a good charm comes in. ArcaneTeddy on the flank. Paladin's ult's not so hot. Diva goes golden, sends the Malphite into the middle of the team. Alois is going down, but they lose the bird in the meanwhile. Alois is still alive thanks to the wild growth. The interrupt with the steadfast presence. ArcaneTeddy popped into the wall, trying to stay alive, but this Lulu is too oppressive. They are locked in place. Nobody on the side of SK Prime goes down. And this team are going to find their first win here at the group stage of the Amazon EU Masters, taking out Valiance in a 24-minute slaughter. SK find their win.
That win was so important for the German org. Again, I just want to reiterate how important, because they were sitting 0-2 in Group C versus Team Heretics and Team BDS, the LFL and the Superliga, who were 2-0. So had that been a third loss for the German org, it would have been extremely difficult to turn things around. But putting up such a dominant performance versus Valiance, who in the books they should have definitely beat, and they actually did that. Props to SK Prime. I think bot lane played extremely well to actually punish mistakes and overextensions. You see that Alois held his own towards the top side of the map and never fell behind. Actually, he was ahead even in CS when it comes to playing against the Fiora. So overall, really nice stuff coming in from SK, taking a victory that they should be gaining.
Yeah, I think SK, you know, they're looking way better off the back of that. The question for me is, how are they actually going to match up versus the rest of the group? I'm just obviously having a quick look at the obvious. They got BDS, they got Heretics, you know, they've got an LFL team, they've got the #1 seed from the Superliga over in Spain as well. Are they going to be able to overcome them? Because they have to be able to actually pull this back. Right now, they are 1-2. That's not a bad score. But on the other side, you got one team that's going to be ending this week 3-0, and the other one's going to be 2-1. And both of these teams have already beaten them. So if they want to make it into that top 2 spot, they've got to really try their hardest to actually pull it back and actually get themselves into that one. But we do have an interview with the mid laner for SK Prime, Phantomles. So Phantomles, hello and welcome.
Hello there.
How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm feeling quite good actually. Feeling a bit pink with some magenta, but I'm feeling quite nice. This was a pretty smooth sailing game, I would say.
Okay, I actually wanted to ask you because I saw Lara dyeing your hair magenta, but it's actually faded. Is it gonna be re-dyed if and when you guys make it out of groups?
Oh, woof. I never thought of that actually. I would say it got really pink. I guess it can be. I guess. I mean, if Lara is up for the job, sure. Or if we make it out of groups, why not?
Obviously, let's ask you a question about this game because it was very important. Both you and Valiance were 0-2 versus Heretics and BDS, who are 2-0. Heretics and BDS are going to be playing each other later on, so one of them will be 2-1. You guys will be 1-2. How do you see your chances versus the two giants that are in your group right now?
I would say we still have the underdog boost. I mean, I feel like we have scrimmed them before, so we know that we can beat them for sure. They're like not LDLC or Unicorns level, I would say. So we for sure have a chance, but it's gonna be like pretty rough, I would say. We're gonna have to like really go all in for next week.
I want to actually ask you a little bit about the game as well, because we saw you pick up the Ahri there into the Azir. When I was watching the champ select in my head, I was like, oh, it's just going to be a Corki Azir matchup. Boring. Is there a reason why you decided to go towards the likes of an Ahri instead of, you know, a kind of like... I don't want to say a typical kind of pick into the Azir, but, you know, you kind of lent, obviously, a different way in what you see get picked up right now versus into the Azir versus going, you know, into something a bit more typical. What was your thought process in picking that up into the Azir?
I would say that the team just functions well when I'm on Ahri, and I don't know, I just felt like if I played Ahri through like planes and it was going easy quite every single game, so I felt like enemy team could not like pick something or like do something that would like punish it enough. So you just pick it, do Ahri things, and you win the game. I feel it's like pretty easy. I would say if you want to go stuff like Victor, Corki, it goes a bit longer, but I feel like when you play against a team that you consider to be like less good than you, not to like sound cocky or anything, but it's better to go these stuff.
Yeah, being able to pick someone up that you can punish on, I guess, is probably the best way to word that. But yeah, honestly, really, really clean stuff. The Ahri definitely worked out. You look really, really crisp on that, landing some very clutch charms. You played that very well. Congratulations on the win, mate. Good luck with your games coming up next week, and hopefully we'll speak to you on the winner side over there. So good night, and we'll speak to you later.
All right. See you next week, hopefully.
See you later, mate. So yeah, that was you know, that was a pretty dominating game. Coming into that, I feel like that was the expectations. That was my expectations, at least coming into this game. I didn't expect it to be this dominant. I thought it was going to be, you know, a game where SK won, they were going to look pretty decent, but I didn't expect, you know, Gadget just to pop off.
I feel like from the Valiance they were a little bit idle because obviously what can King do on the Wukong when you've got Azir in the mid lane who's waiting to scale, you know, Yuumi's forcing Yuumi is not doing to hold down the bot lane, and I think there was an opening for the top side of the map, tried to dive the Malphite early on, there was a pretty stacked wave, level 3 versus level 2 Malphite, it wasn't taken into consideration, I guess, to be a dive, and I feel like with SK Prime picking that Zeri, having that Ahri being ahead, you'll see that Azir stayed in lane while Phantomles kept roaming the entire map. Whenever there was a fight from SK Prime, Phantomles would either TP in it, whether it was a flank or not, and they pretty much sealed the deal. They knew they had the money into their wallets, they knew they had more items in their inventories, they had more levels, they had second points into their ultimates. So SK Prime very clearly just went for the Baron, picked the fight first, took out the jungler, finished the job, and honestly, I really enjoyed what Phantomles said as well. He was like, you know what, it doesn't necessarily matter what it is that Ahri does in our composition. The fact that people cannot shut me down on this champion, and it's been working so well for us. You know, he's willing to pick something that he knows he's very comfortable at, and that he knows that there are possibly no counter matchups from anyone that could be brought out, which is pretty fun knowing that there's like Swains, Lissandras out there. Hey, but if he's feeling like nothing can counter him, nothing can take him down, props to him.
I think this Poppy pick was probably the biggest thing for me in this game. The amount of dashes and the amount that it shut everyone down. You saw ArcaneTeddy in that last fight come in, instantly get interrupted by the steadfast presence, and that was it. There was nothing more he could do. He wanted to jump in, finish up one person, take out the next, and just slowly kind of take apart the kind of people limping out from the front of the fight. And just Eckas really played that amazingly on the Poppy. Very aggressive, really fun to see someone just kind of like, he didn't care, just walk up to the wall, flash over that so he could reposition and get the wall bang off. It was really, really clean stuff coming in from SK Prime as they pick up their first win here at the Amazon EU Masters. We're going to throw to a quick break, and while we're on that break, make sure you head over to Prime Gaming and get yourself your capsule. I got a Master Yi skin, so I was robbed. I'm coming for you, Bezos, in this break. See you in a moment.